can you help me? Like, I can't see out of my left eye. Like, I don't know if I can drive out of here. Can you help me? And he's like, no, I can't help you. And he shuts the door in my face. It was 2-3 weeks after I got my license, and I decided to go ride this trail called Jaeger Mesa. Basically, this trail is like pretty much the closest thing you could ever get to the Pacific Northwest in California. These huge ferns, loamy dirt, and it was raining. And I was like, all right, like I just got my new license. I'm gonna go drive out here, and I'm gonna go rip like hero dirt, and it's gonna be awesome. And that was my first mistake. So I get to the trail, I pull my bike out of the car. It's like maybe 3 p.m. Sun goes down at 5, and it's exactly like a 2-hour ride. And so I start climbing, and it's like, it's raining pretty good. And so I make it all the way up to the top, and it's like, it's super cold. Like my Garmin's reading like 32, and it's pouring rain. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna descend this trail. And I'm just gonna get out of here. Like, this is a bad situation. So I'm going down. I do the upper section of the trail just fine, and then I get to the actual trail that is Jaeger Mesa. And I start descending that. And I get to a section that is pretty gnarly. Like, on the right side, there's like a 40-foot drop off that you can fall off of. And most people don't usually do this section of trail, but I've done it like maybe 10 times in my life clean. So I wasn't worried about it. So I go into it, and I was like, oh, it's good dirt. Like, I'm gonna go pretty fast into it. And so I go into this section, and as soon as I get to the bottom, my front tire slides out from under me, and I fall face first, like, off the cliff, and somehow, like, hang on. I fall, like, 10 feet from my bike, and I hit my face right on the ground. And as soon as I get up, there's blood all in my eye, all in my face, and I can feel it's on my lip, but I stick my tongue out of my mouth, and I'm, like, trying to feel it, and I'm, like, and my tongue goes through my lip, and I'm like, oh God, like this is bad. And so it had also cut my left eye, so I'm thinking like, I can't see, like I have to get out of here. So I pull out my phone, and it's like there's no cell service. I was like, okay, well I have to ride out of here. It's like 45 minutes of riding. So I somehow make it all the way down the trail. I get back to my car. As soon as I get back to my car, I'm so cold and so wet because I was out there. It was 32 degrees. I was wearing nothing but shorts and a long sleeve t-shirt. And I get back to my car, and I'm shaking. And so I throw my bike in there, still blood like rushing out of my face. And I'm just shaking, and like feel like my body is going into shock. So I throw my bike in the car. Once I get in the driver's seat, like I can't even drive. Like my hands are just shaking. And so I start driving down the road, and there's actually this house, this really small little outpost house that someone was living in, and I saw that their car was there. So I knock on their door with my face all bloody up, and he answers. I was like, hey man, like, could you help me? Like, look at my face, like all this. And he's like, no, I can't help you. And funny story is, this is the guy who ends up burning down all the forest in the Santa Anas later on. So he burns down he starts a fire from his house and ends up burning down all of like Santiago Peak, and including this trail. He's the reason why this trail doesn't exist anymore. So basically, he's a super crazy guy who sees me with my face split open and decides not to help me. So I get back in my car, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to drive out of here, and I got to somehow get to urgent care or wherever someone that can help me. So I get in my car, and I'm driving down, and it's just raining, and the roads are slippery. I was just going as fast as I could, like shaking uncontrollably because I was so cold, and my body was just going into shock, and I just couldn't function. So I finally get to where I have service, and I pull out my phone, and I'm trying to type with my thumbs, but like they aren't working because I'm like so cold and so in shock. So I eventually figure out how to like type in urgent care and put in directions. So then I drive to urgent care, and I'm like, okay, so like it's going to be fine now. I'm going to go in. They're going to help me. So I go in, and the lady takes one look at me, and she goes, we can't help you here. So I was like, okay, where do I go? And she's like, okay, we're going to call the fire department and the ambulance. They're going to come get you, and they're going to take you to where they can stitch you up. So I'm sitting there, I'm shaking, I'm cold, They take all my clothes off and they give me like a blanket to try and warm me up, and then they're trying to stop the blood in my lip. And so eventually the fire department shows up and they take me to the hospital, and that's basically where the story ends. I eventually end up getting stitched up by a plastic surgeon, and then I go and see him like 2 weeks later, and he gives me some stuff so the scar isn't as bad. It's actually can't really see it right now, but like still pretty much there. So that's basically it.